New Japan Pro Wrestling just dropped its lineup for the G1 Climax 35, and it looks a little bit eh. It's a lot of the same as what we saw last year. And I'm going to be going through different participants. I'm going to be pulling up the New Japan website so we can look at who's going to be in it and also saying who I would prefer to see in the New Japan G1 Climax this year. Because as it is, it looks like it's going to be a very good tournament, but pretty similar to last year. A lot of the same people, a lot of the same matchups as we saw last year. If you guys like the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the wrestlers who are in the G1 Climax this year. So this is what we are looking at for the lineup for the G1 Climax this year, and it's a lot of the same as last year. I actually have written down the changes. So some people who were in it last year who aren't in it this year are Naito, Jake Lee, Jeff Cobb, and Hanare. Obviously, Naito's retired. Jeff Cobb's in WWE now. Hanare, I believe, is out with injury. And Jake Lee, who was a part of Noah, I think, or maybe AJPW, and he's just not in it this year. So the replacements that we're getting Hiroshi Tanahashi in his final G1, Drilla Maloney, Roy Oiwa, and the winner of Chase Owens versus Yoshihashi. And really, it's just not an incredibly exciting lineup because a lot of the big matches that you're going to get from the G1 Climax this year are going to be comprised of the same participants from the big matches from last year. So just looking at this list, Yota Tsuji and David Finlay will have a banger of a match. David Finlay will have a great match with Hiroki Goto. In B Block, Shingo and Zack will have a great match. Shingo and Gabe will have a great match. Takeshita and Phantasma will have a great match. But those are the same great matches we saw last year. There's not a lot of new real variety in there. And the people that we are adding into the mix that are different from last year don't really add that much dynamic intrigue. Like Tanahashi, it's a nice nostalgia run, but he's not really going to go and produce any greatness in the ring anymore. Drilla Maloney, which I believe he is in B Block. He'll have a good match with Takeshita and a good match with Shingo, but I don't really think he'll produce a whole lot of great in here. It will be interesting to see him wrestle Gabe Kidd, though. Ryohei Oiwa, really good addition. He's actually one of the ones I'm more excited about to be an A Block. I think he'll have a really good match with a lot of people. But lastly, Chase Owens versus Yoshihashi. When I saw that match, I was sort of baffled. Like why would either of those guys be in the G1 Climax, and they're entering the B Block? So you would assume Yoshihashi's going to win just because he's a more prominent figure on New Japan TV, but he's not even in the same block as Goto, so they can't even have an interesting, Bishamon explodes match or anything like that. It's a little bit the same as last year, and last year didn't really blow me away. It had a lot of great matches in it. I won't deny it that, but it also had a lot of mid in it, and a lot of the mid that we saw last year, it looks like it's going to carry over because sure, they got rid of Naito, who wasn't really doing anything of substance last year. Jake Lee's gone. I was very much not impressed by him last year, but we're getting them replaced with some other people who aren't as good. And we're also keeping some of the major detractors from the G1 last year. Evil is still in there. Ren Narita is still in there. We're still pushing the House of Torture in the G1 Climax. And yeah, it's just it's a little bit meh. That's the best way I can describe it. I think that this is sort of the way that the G1 Climax functions, is that every year you have mostly the same participants as the year before, interchanging a few people due to injuries or retirements, or if you brought someone from the outside. But mostly you're looking at the same roster. But the issue is the New Japan roster right now is very, very top heavy. You have some of the best wrestlers in the world at the top of the card. But below that, you don't have a ton of substance. Even looking at this graphic, Goto, incredible. Yota Tsuji, incredible. David Finlay, incredible. Shingo, Zack, awesome, awesome wrestlers. Even Takeshita, you could throw in there. And then you get to the mid card, you have some good wrestlers, like some people who I really like to see, like Gabe Kidd and like El Phantasmo. But then you also have Shota Umino rather, and Sonata, the House of Torture, like I talked about, the Great Okan, very hit or miss. Yu Yu Yamura, very hit or miss depending on who he's wrestling. Bolt and Oleg, the exact same. It's sort of it's a field of two halves. People who I'm really excited to see, and then people who I know are just going to sort of drag those other ones down. So I don't really love the lineup because if I wanted to watch some of these great matches, I could just go back and watch them from last year. Yeah, it's a lot of the same, and that is what the G1 Climax is. But in the past, in like 2014 to 2019, the same was great because you had Okada, Omega, Peak Tanahashi, Osprey, Saber. You had Shibata in there. You had Goto. You had like these legendary New Japan figures all going at it. Whereas this, you don't really have that. So when you see a lot of the same faces as you saw last year, it doesn't really inspire you to get excited. It just sort of reminds you, oh, New Japan's sort of in a down period right now. Having just criticized the New Japan lineup for the G1 Climax, I do think there are some improvements that could be made. And when I say this, take into account that I am just some random dude sitting in a room with a webcam in front of him. I have absolutely no booking experience, and I have no right to be criticizing the New Japan lineup because they are one of the best book companies on earth. But I just feel like there are some things we could do to add some excitement, and you could dip into your roster a little bit. Like in some of the qualifying matches, you had Ishii and Tai Chi, two people who we didn't see in the G1 last year, who I think would be very interesting to see what they can do in the G1 last year. You can also go to talent from other promotions. I wrote down some people who you can go to from AEW. You have a partnership with them. We saw Nick Wayne in Best of the Super Juniors this year. Takeshita was not signed with New Japan last year when he entered the G1, I don't believe. So there's a list of people who would fit really well into a G1 Climax context that I've written down here. A lot, actually. Daniel Garcia, Bandito, Brody King, Ricochet, the Beast Mortos, Claudio Castagnoli, Josh Alexander, Jay White, Kyle Fletcher, Mike Bailey, or even bringing back Katsuyori Shibata. I think all of them would fit really, really well. And if you were to do it right, if you were to promote their participation in the tournament on AEW TV, then you could really drum up a lot of intrigue for the tournament that I don't feel exists right now because it is a lot of the same as last year. Now, I listed a lot of names there, and you probably, I mean, definitely can't have all of them. You can probably I would only have one AEW talent in your G1 other than Konosuke Takeshita. I would probably go Josh Alexander, replace the winner of Chase Owens versus Yoshihashi with Josh Alexander because um, he's just fantastic, and I think he would do so well, especially in B block when he can go at it with like Shingo and Zack Sabre Jr. And I feel like he could really put in great matches with Takeshita and Shota Umino. I feel like he would be a really good addition. Uh, Also for A block, getting rid of Ren Narita, go to CMLL. You have a good relationship with CMLL. You could get Mascara Dorada, you could get Hechicero, you could get Soberano, Averno even. There's so many people over there who you could slot into this tournament who could really add some intrigue to it, especially if they were to go into B block with El Phantasmo, another fantastic high flyer with Konosuke Takeshita, someone we've seen have great matches with pretty much anyone in any style. Like that's a really, really big open space. I would put Mascara Dorada in there. I think he is probably apart from Mystico, the best that CMLL has to offer. But generally, if you're taking people from other promotions, you don't want to take like the top guys. So I think Mascara Dorada in place for Ren Narita in B block would be great. And in A block, getting rid of Evil's here to stay in New Japan. He's been around for a long time and he's been boring for a long time, especially as leader of House of Torture. And I advocate for as little House of Torture on my television screen as possible when watching New Japan. So I would get rid of him. And a few years ago, I don't remember, it was either G1 32 or 33. They put Kaito Kiyomiya in there. Get him back. He was fantastic in the G1 a couple years ago. And I don't really watch Noah that much. I shouldn't say that much. I don't watch Noah at all. So I haven't seen him since he's been in the G1. But I remember him having a great match with Okada when he was there. Get him back in there. Replace him for Evil. So that way, when he's going against Hiroshi Tanahashi in Tanahashi's final run, he's going against established names like Goto. And, he's having sort of banger matches with the new crop of New Japan talent like Yota Tsuji and David Finlay. Fantastic. You would get great matches out of Kaito Kiyomiya at every single turn. Those are the definite replacements. There are some people in there who I'm a little bit like, okay, I guess you got to put him in there, like Shota Umino and B block and Sonata and A block. Sure, you can put him in there. They can both have great matches when put in there with the right opponents. It's just they can't really carry a match themselves. But I don't really see a huge problem with them being in there. And with the G1 Climax, what I am asking to be changed is really I just want a couple different competitors from what we have seen last year. They're already replacing 4 competitors. I'm just asking them to do another 2. So get 6 new faces in there for, a little variety sake, and trying to bring in those foreign audiences, trying to bring in Mexican audiences with the CMLL stars and American audiences by bringing in Josh Alexander. Uh, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do that, and also replacing, maybe some people who are a little bit stale, like even replacing, Sonata with Tomohiro Ishii, or trying to get Tai Chi in there, like. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Try to bring some open weight people like TJP, put him in there. That would be interesting and new and dynamic. There's a lot of possibilities that you could play with that I feel are being left on the table to go with the same old, when the same old can be great sometimes, but is mostly eh. That's my thoughts anyway. We are going to get some great stuff from the G1 this year. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be a standout as he was last year. So will Shingo, Goto, Tsuji, Gabe Kidd, David Finlay. I feel like Gabe Kidd actually will be a lot better than he was last year because he'll be booked more confidently and booked in more main event slots. So he'll have more time to really have great matches. So I feel like we will get a little bit that's different this year. It's just on paper doesn't get people very excited. But ultimately, it comes down to how you book it and to who you push towards the finals. I'll probably be making a predictions video as we get closer to the G1 about how I think each person will do. I haven't really given a ton of thought as to who I think is going to be in the finals and who will be the eventual winner, but keep your eyes open for that video so you can hear what I think and so you can discuss what you think. If you agree with my perspective that this year's G1 Climax looks a little bit bland and a little bit same as last year, let me know down in the comments. Or if I'm over pushing it and over hyping how bad it's going to be, please let me know as well down in the comments below. And while you're there, if you like the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with all that being said, I genuinely want to thank you guys for watching. Whoever out there is watching this video, I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.